The box office in 2025 has been full of surprises. Some films shattered global records, while others stumbled despite massive budgets. In this countdown, we unveil the top 10 highest-grossing movies of the year so far. But not all that shines is gold. Three of these blockbusters turned into disasters. Let's break it down entry by entry. Number 10, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, 2025. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning marked the return of Ethan Hunt in what was marketed as the concluding chapter of the decades-spanning franchise. With Tom Cruise back in full stunt mode and a marketing campaign hyping it as the most intense mission yet, expectations were sky high. The film delivered strong action sequences and complex international espionage plots, pulling in over $598 million globally. Yet beneath the commercial success, many critics felt the franchise was beginning to show fatigue. While Cruise's stunts remained jaw-dropping, the story was accused of being overly convoluted. Audiences turned up in droves early on, but word of mouth wasn't as strong as previous installments, causing a steep second-week drop. Even fans admitted the emotional payoff was lacking, and the supposed finality of the title felt more like a marketing trick than a genuine ending. Despite its impressive gross, The Final Reckoning underperformed compared to its immediate predecessor and failed to reignite the franchise with fresh energy. It made money, yes, but not quite the cultural splash Paramount had hoped. For a series that once defined the modern action blockbuster, this final chapter ended more with a polite applause than a standing ovation. Number 9, Superman, 2025. The Man of Steel soared back to screens in 2025 with the much-anticipated Superman reboot, a bold attempt to reframe the hero for a new generation. With a younger cast, modernized costume design, and a multiverse-spanning narrative, Warner Bros. Intended to reset their DC cinematic strategy. Financially, the film didn't disappoint, quickly grossing over $600 million worldwide within weeks of release. However, buzz quickly turned sour. Critics were divided over its tone, neither as hopeful as classic Superman nor as grounded as modern superhero dramas. Fans pointed to inconsistent character development and jarring plot jumps. Online forums lit up with debates over casting choices and whether the script misunderstood the essence of Clark Kent. Even the visual effects, expected to be industry-leading, were criticized for feeling weightless and overly digital. This was meant to be a cornerstone for future DC projects, but now the studio finds itself re-evaluating its entire superhero slate. While the box office numbers suggest success, the film's polarizing reception and fading cultural relevance paint a more disappointing picture. Superman 2025 didn't crash and burn, but it didn't quite fly either, making it one of the year's highest-grossing, yet most debated releases. Number 8. F1: The Movie, 2025. F1: The Movie roared into cinemas as one of the most visually exhilarating entries of 2025. A high-octane blend of sports drama and behind-the-scenes politics, it capitalized on the global rise in Formula One's popularity. Backed by a strong cast, slick production design, and extensive real-track footage, the film quickly raced past $630 million in global earnings, especially performing well in European and Asian markets. Fans of the sport praised its authenticity, particularly the recreation of iconic circuits and the attention paid to team rivalries. The film struck a balance between adrenaline-fueled races and character-driven drama, focusing on a rookie driver navigating fame and corruption in a high-stakes industry. It resonated deeply with audiences who appreciated that it wasn't just about speed, it was about survival in a ruthless world. What pushed F1? The movie beyond expectations was its international appeal. By casting globally recognized actors and securing real F1 brand partnerships, the film felt like an immersive event rather than a standard sports flick. While critics noted some formulaic story beats, most agreed the pacing and visuals compensated well. This surprise hit solidified itself as a crowd pleaser, proving that even niche sports could become box office gold when treated with cinematic reverence. Number 7. How to Train Your Dragon, 2025. The beloved dragon riding saga returned in 2025 with a fresh installment simply titled How to Train Your Dragon. Though technically a continuation, the story introduced a new generation of characters while honoring the emotional legacy of Hiccup and Toothless. Families flocked to theaters in droves, helping the film soar to over $636 million globally, a strong comeback after years of franchise dormancy. This installment followed Hiccup's daughter as she discovers a hidden world of dragons even more ancient and powerful than those known before. The visuals were breathtaking, especially in IMAX and 3D formats, with sweeping flight sequences and lush environments that reignited childhood wonder in longtime fans. The new story also tackled mature themes like legacy, fear of change, and intergenerational courage, making it resonate with both kids and adults. Critically, the film received warm reviews for its heartfelt storytelling and high production value, though some longtime fans felt the narrative played things too safe. Still, its blend of nostalgia and new direction worked commercially. It didn't break franchise records, but it reminded audiences why they fell in love with dragons in the first place. For DreamWorks, it was a much-needed success and a sign the franchise still had wings. Number 6. Demon Slayer: Infinity Castle, 2025. Demon Slayer: Infinity Castle carved out its legacy as a global anime phenomenon in 2025. Riding high on the momentum of its predecessors, this film adaptation of the manga's climactic arc stormed into theaters with fanfare and explosive pre-sales. Within weeks, it slashed through box office records with over $780 million in global revenue, marking it as the most successful anime film of the year. The film plunged viewers into an epic final confrontation between the Demon Slayer Corps and Muzan Kibutsuji, the series' central villain. The animation was a masterclass in cinematic craft, blending hand-drawn artistry with digital effects to create sequences that felt both emotionally resonant and visually overwhelming. Fans lauded its faithful adaptation of the source material and the gut-wrenching character arcs that brought the saga to a bittersweet conclusion. Despite being a foreign-language film in most markets, Demon Slayer: Infinity Castle performed exceptionally well worldwide, including in North America and Europe. It proved that anime could command the same box office respect as any Hollywood blockbuster. While some newcomers found the plot dense, longtime followers celebrated every frame. In a year packed with CGI-heavy franchise fare, Demon Slayer delivered pure emotional spectacle, a love letter to the fans who had followed the journey from the beginning. Number 5. Jurassic World: Rebirth, 2025. Jurassic World: Rebirth promised to breathe new life into the aging dino franchise. Set years after the events of Fallen Kingdom, the film aimed to reboot the series with a darker tone, a new cast of characters, and a bolder philosophical edge. The gamble paid off financially, with over $869 million at the global box office, making it one of the highest-grossing entries in the series. The movie focused on a world where dinosaurs had permanently escaped human control. Instead of theme parks, the plot centered on humanity trying to coexist and compete with apex predators roaming free. The result was a tense survival thriller set across multiple continents, featuring lush environments and brutal dino confrontations. Visual effects were top-tier, especially a jaw-dropping sequence involving a velociraptor ambush in an abandoned cityscape. However, Rebirth wasn't without controversy. While critics appreciated the visual upgrade and ecological metaphors, many felt the story lacked charm and character development. The absence of legacy characters also drew backlash from longtime fans. Some even labeled it one of the more emotionally hollow entries, despite its ambitious scope. Still, it delivered on spectacle and scale, exactly what many audiences paid to see. Number 4. A Minecraft Movie, 2025. A Minecraft movie was expected to be the ultimate four-quadrant blockbuster, with over a decade of cultural dominance behind it and a generation of fans raised on blocky adventures. This adaptation carried immense weight. Box office numbers initially supported the hype, with the film pulling in an impressive $958 million globally within its first month. But commercial success wasn't the whole story. Despite its massive haul, critics and fans alike were divided. The narrative, a mix of live action and CGI, felt oddly soulless. Attempts to thread a compelling human story through the pixelated chaos landed awkwardly. Many complained the film tried too hard to be everything at once: an epic adventure, a comedy, a love letter to gamers, and a Hollywood tentpole. The result was tonal whiplash. Online discourse turned especially harsh. Die-hard Minecraft players criticized inaccuracies and lack of creativity. Meanwhile, casual viewers unfamiliar with the game felt lost or unimpressed. The box office momentum slowed after its second week, and the film failed to establish the franchise foothold studios had hoped for. In the end, a Minecraft movie made huge money but became one of the year's most prominent creative misfires. Number 3. Lilo and Stitch 2025. Lilo and Stitch returned to the big screen in 2025 with a live-action CGI remake that was as visually daring as it was emotionally risky. Banking on the original's cult following, Disney modernized the story while staying faithful to the core themes of Ohana and alien mischief. Families responded with enthusiasm, propelling the film past $14 billion in global box office sales. Visually, the film was a triumph. Stitch was brought to life with a perfect blend of realism and cartoonish charm, and the lush Hawaiian backdrops looked stunning. The soundtrack fused old favorites with new island-inspired tracks, and younger audiences were introduced to Lilo's quirky, heartwarming world. The performances, especially from the child actors, were universally praised for maintaining the emotional heartbeat of the story. However, not everyone was on board. Some longtime fans criticized subtle story changes, particularly a toned-down take on the social themes that made the original so bold. Critics noted that the film at times played it too safe, avoiding deeper messages in favor of broader commercial appeal. Still, it proved to be a massive family hit and cemented itself as one of Disney's most successful remakes yet. Number 2. Zootopia 2, 2025. Zootopia 2 arrived nearly a decade after the original, carrying the weight of high expectations and fan anticipation. Disney leaned into the franchise's rich world-building, expanding the narrative into new biomes and cultural districts beyond the first film's metropolis. The result was a globe-spanning, socially charged mystery adventure that managed to draw in both returning fans and a younger generation discovering the franchise for the first time. The sequel follows Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde as they uncover a conspiracy that threatens predator-prey relations once again, this time on an international scale. The animation was dazzling, showcasing new animal societies with rich visual diversity. Zootopia 2 took its themes seriously, exploring misinformation, digital manipulation, and cross-cultural misunderstanding in a surprisingly mature but digestible way. Parents praised it as a thoughtful film that sparked real conversations with kids. Box office receipts reflected its success, crossing the $1.1 billion mark globally and becoming one of Disney's top performers of the decade. Critics highlighted its humor, emotional stakes, and timely social allegories. While some detractors felt the film was a bit too message-heavy, it resonated with audiences and critics alike. Zootopia 2 not only proved the staying power of its world, but also solidified Disney's animation dominance once again. Number 1. Ne Zha 2, 2025. Ne Zha 2 didn't just dominate the Chinese box office. It became a global sensation, raking in over $2 billion and making history as one of the highest-grossing animated films of all time. As a follow-up to the 2019 original, this sequel built on the mythological richness and emotional depth of its predecessor while pushing animation technology to stunning new heights. The story picks up with Neja struggling with his divine destiny and mortal desires as a new celestial war threatens the realms. The visual spectacle was jaw-dropping, blending Chinese traditional art with cutting-edge CG to create epic battle sequences and serene, otherworldly realms. It drew praise for its sophisticated storytelling, moral complexity, and striking emotional resonance, especially among adult viewers. What shocked many in the industry was how well Neja 2 performed outside China. Subtitled and dubbed versions were box office draws across Asia, Europe, and even North America, proving that animated storytelling rooted in non-Western mythology could transcend cultural and language barriers. Critics called it one of the boldest animated films of the decade. With its combination of cultural pride, visual majesty, and universal themes, Neja 2 was not just a commercial triumph, it was a global milestone for international animation, and it redefined what was possible for non-Hollywood blockbusters in the modern theatrical landscape. Bonus section: 3 that turned into disasters, disappointments in 2025. A Minecraft movie. On paper, a Minecraft movie looked like a can't-miss juggernaut. The brand was globally beloved, its aesthetic instantly recognizable, and its generational fan base ready to flood cinemas. And for a moment, it worked. With a global box office take of over $950 million, the film opened strong, especially among families and teens. But the enthusiasm quickly fizzled. Critics called the story muddled, the tone inconsistent, and the live-action CGI hybrid awkwardly executed. Attempts to craft a heartfelt narrative around blocky characters felt disjointed, and longtime fans complained about deviations from the game's open-ended creativity. The humor didn't land with adults, and younger audiences grew restless halfway through the runtime. What was meant to kick off a new film franchise became a cautionary tale of overestimating brand loyalty. By week 3, ticket sales dropped sharply. Despite making money, the film's creative failure cast a long shadow, making it one of the most disappointing successes of the year. Superman 2025. Warner Bros. Poured heart, hype, and hundreds of millions into Superman 2025. A soft reboot that promised to revitalize the DC universe. It flew into theaters with massive promotional momentum and soared to over $600 million worldwide. But as the dust settled, the narrative around the film wasn't triumph. It was regret. Critics cited a bloated script, misfired emotional beats, and an identity crisis in tone. Some scenes felt like throwbacks to the Snyder era, while others seemed to parody it. Clark Kent's arc was uneven, and Lois Lane's role felt reduced to exposition. Even die-hard DC fans couldn't agree whether the film was bold or broken. Worse still, its box office success didn't translate into excitement for future installments. The franchise felt rudderless. Social media dubbed it a near miss, and while it didn't bomb financially, it failed to inspire. It proved that even iconic heroes can stumble when studios aim for crowd-pleasing formulas instead of cohesive vision. Madame Web 2026. Sony's Madame Web was intended to expand the Spider-Man cinematic universe with a psychic twist and a female-led cast. But what was hyped as a bold superhero spin-off quickly became one of the year's most infamous flops. Despite the Marvel connection, the film crashed critically and commercially, grossing far below studio projections and quickly vanishing from theaters. The plot followed Cassandra Webb, a paramedic who gains clairvoyant abilities and glimpses of future threats in the Spider-Verse. Yet what could have been an edgy and unique genre entry fell flat at every turn. Critics blasted the film for its wooden dialogue, incoherent story, and a tone that felt uncertain. Part thriller, part teen drama, part superhero origin, but never fully committing to any. Audiences were confused. The marketing leaned heavily on Spider-Man mythology, but the film itself barely delivered on that promise. Cameos teased in trailers were either underwhelming or missing entirely. Even fans of niche Marvel content struggled to defend the film. As word of mouth turned toxic, ticket sales plummeted within days. From dragons to demons and billion-dollar blunders, 2025's cinematic landscape has been wild. While box office numbers dazzled, not every film lived up to its promise. As studios chase global hits, audiences remind them that storytelling still matters. Which blockbuster wowed you? Let us know and keep watching this space.